Ready to go? Hi everyone and welcome to another hashtag Ask Jim. It's a really hot February for the training, so it's great to see everyone in here as well, having a good time, and hopefully everyone's been enjoying the training experience as well. And before we get into the questions, we've got a lot of questions here, so thank you for doing them as well. I just want to make sure a few people know we've got some things going on. So we've got the Local Heroes Initiative, which is starting next week. So do you want to talk about the Jim's Local Heroes Initiative?
We're basically asking people in the community to recommend a local hero, somebody who's unsung hero, achieved, done wonderful things for other people. There's so many people out there who don't get recognised. We want people to bring them forward, and then we're going to offer them up to $10,000 worth of services. We have lawn mowing, cleaning for a year, complete makeover of their property, anything.
Yeah, we've got our first one happening actually next Tuesday. It's a really well-deserving person. I think we might be over budget for the first one, but that's okay. So that's going to be a really good thing, and that's a good PR thing. We're going to roll around to each state as well. It won't just be in Vic, New South Wales, Queensland, things like that.
And this all goes on social media so that we can, present the brand and our services as well in the best possible light.
Well, the key thing about it is also the variety of services we have with gyms. So that's going to be a really important thing as well, which we're going to have everyone there. And the other thing as well is that situation we had the other night as well, which I think would be nice to point out. Franchisee reached out for a bit of help in mowing and within.
A franchisee approached me yesterday, had some very severe problems with mental health. Very good franchisee until recently, going downhill fast, asked if anyone got help. So we got in touch with a couple of franchises we know who are very, very good in terms of systematic organisation, approached them, both very happy to be unpaid mentors.
Yeah, and these are guys are really successful franchisees. They don't have much time on their hands, but they do it as well, which is great to see.
They're busy making a lot of money, but they're still prepared to give up their time, which is a very Jimish thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of them.
So let's get into it straight away. We've got a lot of questions, guys. As we said at the start before we record, microphone's there for anyone at any time to come and ask Jim a question. Please interrupt us. I do have all your questions here, but don't wait. Ask him anything you like. And as I said, it's all recorded, so if you want to pull up the video in a year's time to get something on camera with him, please do so as well. So who's got the first question for Jim and wants to come up to the mic? Can you come up? Yeah, go for it. Yeah, and say your name and where you're from, which division you're going to be joining.
My name is Lily from Adelaide, from Jim's Cleaning, Seacombe Garden.
Okay.
Yeah. My question is, Jim, I know you like cold showers. I like cold showers too, but I started last year in February, and then I stopped because I had a cold. And then I just haven't get back to it. But because I read somewhere, it said that you need to have like 5 minutes, or someone said 2 minutes. So what's your cold shower?
Well, I not only have cold showers, but I actually it's actually Baden Powell in Scouting for Boys, which is, he's the founder of the Scouting movement, actually recommends being cold. Don't have too many blankets on at night, for example. Also exercising outdoors with minimal clothing, like in the middle of winter in the rain and stuff, just exposing yourself. It's actually great for mood, and it's great for health and energy. Because I'm 71 years old and I am full of beans. I'm really just bursting with energy. And I think exposure to cold is a big help.
Yeah. I feel like after the cold shower I used to have, and then I feel like very energetic, and the whole day goes well. But like, it's like 2 minutes, or use a whole shower, you need to have cold, or it's a...
What time frame, yeah.
Oh, well, actually what happens is, normally I run on my treadmill for half an hour, which case and do weightlifting and stuff, in which case I'm very hot. So I just go and have a cold shower completely. In fact, my exercise room doesn't even have hot water. It doesn't need it.
Okay, so it's even winter?
I just, even in the middle of winter, oh yes. You get used to it. It's actually you should go back to it as soon as you...
Yeah, I should.
Don't worry about colds. People have a myth, the idea that being cold gives you cold. Nothing like it. They've tested it. It's absolutely not true. If you expose yourself to cold showers, cold water swimming, cold exercising, you're less likely to get sick. Yeah. You know, we've been running training for 15 years. You know how often I've missed a day of giving a course? Never. Not one day. I do get under the weather a bit at times, but my health is really good. And exercise, proper weight, diet, not smoking, cold, all part of it.
Can we drinking though?
He doesn't drink.
I don't drink.
Okay.
He's got his own beer, but he doesn't drink, believe it or not. Yeah.
Okay.
The beer is supposed to be very good, but I've never tasted it.
Oh, okay.
You have to take your word for it if you want some.
Yeah, thank you.
Good question, good start. That's how easy it is to do. Guys, and if you want to come up, just ask him a question. Don't have to clap either, we'll take all night, but you will get a gift at the end. Yes, absolutely.
I like that question.
That's good. That's how it works.
Hi Jim, I'm Maria Rudolph. I'm with the Dog Wash division. I would like to know, as a CEO, what has been your biggest lessons and adversities, and how has it benefited you?
Well, as you read my book, you'll see I've made a lot of mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is to go into things you don't understand very well. Businesses look very good from the outside. When you're inside them, they're not so good. And I've tried different things like a holiday resort, like a trade exchange, like a factory, all of them failures. The things that I do best are the things that I understand. So you work with what you know. We're very good at the service industry. Extend that, different kinds of services running in a different way. That's probably the single biggest lesson. The hardest thing in actually growing is not actually finding customers, finding the right people to help you, like top managers. That's the hardest thing I've struggled with. I've got Rocky, who's my COO. He's a fantastic guy, and that's just such a great find. He's an ex-franchisor in Jim's.
So have you had like mentors to help you build this business throughout the years?
No,
or?
not mentors as such. I've learned a lot from my franchisors and my franchisees. In a sense, probably all my group is mentors, because these are people I speak to. So a company comes up with an idea and says, why don't we do this? And we look at it and say, well, that's a really good idea, and then we do it. So in a sense, that's strange, I know, but it's almost my franchisees and my mentors. That's where most of my ideas come from. I read a lot. I probably read a couple of books a week on average, or listen to. So I'm always learning things. I've got this great book about diet and just started listening to now, which is fantastic. Another one about status differences, which Joel recommended to me. I'm working on another one. Another one about social groups and stuff I just read last week. So I find I read a lot of business books too, but also psychology, all kinds of things like that. Constantly ideas. So that's my mentors, really. A good question.
Good one. Guys, you got a question, just jump up and ask Jim, guys. Please feel free. Everyone's very nice getting a clap as well. We don't normally get claps for questions, but that's good. If you got a question, guys, feel free to come up and ask him. Good man.
Hi, Jim. Good evening. I'm from Perth. I would like to ask you a question like, what is your future goal? What do you want to become in your future from now? You inspire a lot of young generation and upcoming generation at the moment. At this point of time, what is your future goal? That's my
In terms of Jim's group, my future goal is we want to get better at what we do. I want better customer service and better service to franchisees. I don't have a specific numerical goal. We've never had one. We're growing quite steadily. We hit 5,000 less than a year ago. We're up to 5,300,
400
something like that,
yeah.
So we're doing well, financially speaking, but money is not the goal, and growth isn't the goal by itself. Better service is the goal. The other thing, my greater goal is this, which is my research program. I did a PhD in history back in my 20s and so forth. Came to the conclusion that there is a different way of understanding human societies in terms of biology. And I currently fund a research institute which is run through Latrobe University. We're spending about $4 million a year looking at the basic solutions to problems like obesity and drug addiction and so forth. So that is my biggest goal.
That's really amazing, really consistent learning.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've got so
Fantastic.
many things. My goal is also my family too. I've got 10 kids. And I love them, and that's part of my goal and purpose in life too. So multiple things. It's always important to have a life filled with purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, that book is there, biohistory.org as well. You can download a free copy of that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good question, good man. Thank you very much.
We've got a great audience tonight. It's the
Very
biggest
nice.
group we've ever had,
Very nice
actually.
claps and everything.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I'm Trev from Mowing. My question was about epigenes
Yeah. Oh,
and
wow.
your research. Do you reckon that's going to come into the Jim's ethos, like under that eventually, if you get to where you want to with it?
I had your question flagged. It was a good one. I knew we'd like it. Yeah, it's a good one.
Will it cover the Jim's ethos?
Do you think it will come into part of, if you get to where you want to with the stress and all that kind of stuff that you're researching, do you want it to become part of
Help customer service.
the customer
yeah.
service side of things?
Look, the biggest thing in business is not money, it's not education, it's not even experience, it's character. Franchisees who've got great character do extraordinarily well. It doesn't matter where you start from, it doesn't matter how young you are, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you've got character, you do well. This is all about developing character, how character develops, what influences make it happen, and also are there ways to improve the process. to actually give the benefits of certain different kinds of upbringing, for example.
And if you get what you want out of your research, is that something you want to bring into the business?
Well, one of the things we might be able to do is to try and work out not so much who's going to be successful, but who's likely to fail. That's the one thing that really upsets me the most. We have something like 5 to 10% of our franchisees don't succeed.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew who they were. One of the things I'd love to do is to figure out if there's any way of calculating the epigenetics to say, okay, you're not likely to succeed. And then I would say no to that person. It's not the majority, it's a very small minority. But the most upsetting things that happen is when somebody fails. It's something you never get accustomed to it, you never get used to it. It's always painful. And I want to stop that if I possibly can. So in that way, yes, I'd like to do it.
Yeah.
How practical that is, I don't know.
Good question, Trevor. Well done, mate. Go for it.
Yeah, Jim, my name's Elton. Looking into the Mowing franchise. Apart from the business that you've created, what is it that you do hold most dearly?
My research foundation, without any question. That's been the central purpose of my life, apart from my family. I think I have an understanding of what happens. I haven't got a lot of people who agree with me yet, but we're doing a lot of research and testing and so forth that I believe can make a huge difference to human society. And I'm talking about, if I'm right, if we could reverse engineer, we could help billions of people literally. You could solve massive problems if you understood character and what's behind it. That's my life work. And frankly, Jim's makes good money, but the vast majority of any profits goes into the research. I live, relatively speaking, quite mildly, quite simply.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good videos explaining it though. Buy history, if you search it on YouTube, there's some good ones as well. Come up and go for it, yeah.
Hi Jim, my name is Shrey, I'm from Adelaide, James Mowing. Yes. My question is, what was it like doing your first ever quote? Was there any hesitation?
First ever quote, do you remember back that age?
What
back in the
was
1910s, 1920s.
I come from a job, so I'm not used to asking anyone for,
Well, I can't remember my first specific quote, but what happened is when I took a gap year after I left school, and I put a notice in the window of the local hardware store asking for work as a gardener. And in those days, I charged $1.50 an hour, which even in those days wasn't much money. But a few years later, I wanted to buy a car, so I decided to pay for it. I needed to make more money, so I bought a lawnmower. My first lawnmower was an orange Pope. And then I had this campaign that says most lawns $5. Now, bear in mind, in those days, you could buy a house for $30,000, so that wasn't too bad. So that's kind of what I started from. So I used to just charge about $5 to do a typical lawn.
Lovely.
We do have a video of one of your first flyers as well, where you put back in
Yes.
1982, what you looked like back then on the fly.
Yeah. But that was a few years later.
That was.
I would have bought my mower probably about 1975.
Yeah, come up, good question.
Hey Jim, Hadi, I'm looking at a dog wash franchise in Sydney. So, what happened to the beard? When did you let that go?
I grew a beard way back because my fiance liked beards. Later on, something 22 years ago, I found myself single. Not my choice. My beard was going grey, made me look older, off it came. It's all about women, isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Ladies, we exist to impress you. Nothing else matters by comparison.
Is it ever coming back?
Well, we can.
No, I look like Santa Claus now, to be white, I reckon.
You can see how it looks though. Jim, we'll put this one on you real quickly. You can see how it looks. You can see how it looks and you can believe it's Jim on the logo. We get it a bit.
All right, how's that going?
You can see the logo as well. We always do one question with it, so come up and ask your question. And if it's a really long one, he's going to do it for the whole question.
It's a lot more scratchy than the real thing.
Yes.
It's like I'm talking to someone different. Hi, I'm Paul. I'm from the Sunshine Coast, best place on earth. I think I read somewhere in 2012 Jim's was going to go list. I'm not sure if it did or what happened. My experience with companies when they do list is you seem to be very franchise focused and you look after the franchise best interest. And sort of my experience, I think, in the past is when a company lists, they then work for the shareholders
yes.
and not the workers. Is there or are there any plans to list?
Nope. We changed our mind fairly quickly after we looked into what was involved and decided not to do it, and for exactly the reasons that you say. Because we think very long term. I never have to make a decision based on profitability. I can always decide what's in the best interests of my franchisees, what's in the best long-term interests of the company. And you start watching the next quarter's share price and it stuffs things up entirely.
Yeah.
And a lot of great franchise systems like Brumby's have been destroyed by greedy multinationals coming in, buying them out and screwing their franchisees into the ground. In fact, one of the things we plan to do fairly shortly is to put a clause in every contract that says that the control of Jim's Group cannot be sold without the written consent of a majority of franchisees. Even if we had listed, I would never let majority control go.
Sure. Okay. Thanks very
For
much.
that reason, it's a really good question. We couldn't have asked
yeah.
picked a better question. We were talking about the other day, weren't we, about that being something when people consider a franchise, they should look at that. If it's private equity involved or whatever,
Yes.
that should be a really important part
One
of
of my
it.
concerns is what's going to happen after I'm dead, which is probably another 20 years, which means I'll probably last most franchise here, because based on my extremely good health and fitness habits and so forth, I want to try and set up a structure in the family, controlled by my family, which will hopefully maintain the culture and the ethos of what Jim's is and what makes it great. I would hate the idea of that being destroyed after I've gone.
Sure, because it was a sort of a, not a deciding factor, but I did discuss it with Melanie, my franchisor, and yeah, I think it would change a lot of the dynamics with franchisees. And
A lot of things go wrong when
Yeah.
people start chasing money. I think it's the worst mistake in business, putting money first. You have stakeholders, your staff, your customers, in our case, most of all our franchisees, and also franchisors, of course. That's the top thing. And it's very easy to make a decision, because if you look at a decision that I could make more money, but it could hurt franchisees, well, it's not even a difficult decision, because franchisees always come first.
Sure.
But staff as well, too. It's the stakeholder capitalism, not that dreadful idea that the only people you're supposed to look for is your shareholders.
It's a really good question, because we were going to do some content around this, so it's a really good timing on that one as well.
Yes.
Good one. Cool. Come on. Jump up, come up.
How are you guys?
G'day.
So Ian from Central Coast, New South Wales, looking at building inspections. So my question, obviously you're very knowledgeable, you've come a long way. If you could go back to a younger you when you first started, what would you tell yourself?
So many things. I tell you what, I would love to be able to get in the time machine and do this course that you guys are doing now. I reckon it would take me half as long, because I didn't understand so much stuff. I didn't understand the dangers of doing things you don't understand. I didn't understand the importance of IT, how you should get into that much earlier. Worry a lot less about contracts, much more about IT systems and so forth. I would know how to give much better service to franchisees from the beginning. I didn't understand meetings. I didn't understand proactive calls. There are so many blind alleys, so much wasted time and effort.
Yeah. What would be the number one thing, but do you reckon?
It's difficult to pinpoint because they're all so important.
Yeah.
But stick to what you know. Don't diversify. I didn't understand when I started Jim's what the potential was. I thought it was something that was just going to keep on going for a bit, maybe get 100 franchisees until something better come along. So I just didn't comprehend. If you'd have said one day, you know, I'll have 5,000 franchisees, I'd say, hey, what are you smoking? I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. This is a mowing business.
Yeah.
It surprised me, honestly has. Really astonished me. It's done
amazing.
so well. And I am a person that's got many weaknesses. I've got a few strengths, but I've got very many weaknesses. There are many things I don't do very well at all. You know, we talked about social media. Someone like Joel is so far ahead of me. Or my COO is fantastic. My CFO, a lot of my managers, they're very, very good at things. It's much better than me.
Yeah.
So, got to find great people. Oh, there's so many things. I wish I could have done this course, though. I really do.
Good question. Thank you very much. Come on, mate. Real quickly, though, Jim. We do get questions online, Jim. I just want to read out these one second, mate. Just want to read out these ones online real quickly for you, Jim. Marissa's gone, what about Jim's disability support programs or support worker services? I would like to see this happen. That's a good timing, that
Yeah,
one.
we've got a new division starting probably 1st of April, which
correct.
is doing exactly that.
And it's not April Fool's either, so
It's
we've
not
got
April
something
Fool's.
planned for that, but it's not that.
We do April Fool's
Yes.
joke every year, some of which is taken rather seriously.
Well, I saw Jim Land video today, which was people didn't think it was an April Fool, and you're in the age and all that sort of stuff, and people losing their minds. And,
It's amazing.
yeah, but so Jim's home care.
Home care is
yeah.
starting 1st of April, and it's good. It's run by Paul Cumberford, who's the head of the building inspections division. Who's a terrific entrepreneur, so we're very confident it's going to go very well.
Another one here real quickly from Brett's a long-term franchisee, he always tunes in. He says their call centre seems to be having some issues at the moment. How come they don't form part of the survey sent out?
Well, if we get feedback of what's wrong with the call centre, we always feed it back to them. There's a constant feedback. Anything goes wrong, if any job gets misapplied, it goes back to the call centre. So they're getting a constant stream of feedback, not least from myself. So we get mistakes made, for example, the job's sent to the wrong person. So we go back and say, okay, what happened, what went wrong, what training do we need to do? Constant.
You want to see the call centre operates? We did a really good video on Facebook today, which went out on YouTube. Type it in, 4-minute explanation with Charlene. There's a great job talking about how it all works, so that's a good one on our Facebook page. Come on, mate, go for it.
Hi, Jim. I'm Don Samia from Cleaning Division.
Hi, Don.
I'm from Melbourne West. You started as doing mowing, right?
Yes.
Now that you're a CEO, do you still remember when was the last time you mow your lawn?
Last Saturday.
Oh, that's impressive.
Now,
How well did you do?
it's up at my farm, but you'll never guess which kind of mower I used to cut it with. Anybody like to take a guess at which mower it was? No.
No?
Hand mower.
I'd like to give you something for that.
And yeah, very good. Well done. It's actually one which you actually push. The first mower I ever used to cut my lawn at our place, it's a hand mower that's actually pushed by muscle power. And I started up with the grass that high because it'd been let go, and I scythe it down, and I rake it, and then I cut it with my hand mower. That's what I do at the weekends.
Fun times.
Amongst other things, amongst growing vegetables.
Thank you, Jim.
Good question, mate.
Very good.
Come up and ask a question, go for it.
Hi Jim, I'm Navi from Gin Tax. I've got current franchise, but my husband is joining the cleaning division.
Okay.
Here to help him. But the question I'm asking is, most of us here are getting the franchise with either partners, husbands, long-term friends. Because, when you work together in any kind of relationship with time, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years down the track, it does get a little bit dicey. So how to kind of maintain or keep it separate? Because if your husband and wife working in the morning all day and same, they're together at night, how to manage or maintain?
A lot of the strongest relationships are actually partnerships. You've just got to be the right temperament to work together. But it can actually strengthen the marriage because you've got so much in common. And people have complementary skills. Women are often better at things like finance, administration. Men can get out there and do the work and be presenters and so forth. So, look, it doesn't always work, but it's a huge success. One of the things that we do when we talk to potential franchisees is we try and talk to their partners and make sure they're happy with them going into the business, that they're going to support them. We also encourage partners to come to these training sessions because it's good for both parties to know what's involved, and surprisingly often the partner ends up buying a franchise anyway, so we think it's a good investment.
Yeah.
But it's all free to partners. We don't charge anything, unless they want to stay overnight, in which case you would extra meals.
All right, thank you.
Jim's Tax, that's a good service we could always use more of, Jim's Tax. Absolutely. Come on, mate, go for it.
Hi, Jim. It's David Hills from Adelaide here. I've got a question for you in regards to the naming Jim. Obviously, that's not your real name?
No, my name is, legally speaking, David James Penman.
Yep.
That's right, so I use my middle name. And I've called myself Jim ever since. I actually went to work on a farm briefly when I was just left school for just a few months. And there was another guy there about my age, his name was David, so I said, call me Jim. So I got used to it.
So we've actually both got the same initials. So I'm David John, but it's always been DJ. So
There you go.
there we go.
It's a good Trivial Pursuit question. What is Jim's real name?
Yeah. I did my research.
Well done.
Which is a good sign in itself.
Good man. Cool. Got a lot of questions here, guys. Good question. If you want to come up and ask me, just interrupt us as well. I'm going to run through them and read out the name and see. Hopefully you're here. Is Ali Reza here from Jim's Cleaning? Yep. Do you want to jump up, Ali? Do you remember your question? Oh, it's very cheeky. I like this one. It's very confident.
What was the question?
Do you want me to read it out for you? If this is your one. It might not be your one, but I'll read it out. It said, can we expect to earn 50 grand per month in the cleaning division?
Oh, yeah.
Was that your one?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Well, you shouldn't expect...
We discussed...
Just legally as well, legally we're on camera.
You shouldn't
Disclaimer.
expect to earn $50,000 a month, but we've got some people who do make that kind of money.
I know for a fact a few that do, yeah. We interview them. So
we interview them all the time. Whenever I get hear anybody who's making really good money, I pass them to Joel, does an interview. So it's possible. It's possible to make more than that, actually. The top franchisees were making the millions of dollars a year. In fact, most of the top earners at Jim's Group, you might think they're franchisors, but they're actually franchisees with big teams. Because generally speaking, it's unlimited work. The problem with growing is not usually work, it's usually employees. If you've got the capacity to find and keep good people, then you can do extraordinarily well, because work is effectively unlimited in most divisions. Mm-hmm. So you never know, 50 grand a month, maybe.
Thank you.
Because we've got cleaning groups. I interview a lot of the cleaning group franchisees, and that's...
We are actually a family of 4.
Yep.
Well, that's a good start, isn't it?
My wife and 2 sons.
Yes.
And we are going to... sorry, my language is not very good. We are going to hire maybe 6 to 10 employees.
Yes.
And with 10 employees, can we do that business as big as I said?
Good question. So can you hire without paying
that's
extra fees?
$600,000. You're talking about $600,000 a year. Bear in mind, it's not out of the question for a sole operator to do $200,000 a year. So if you've got 10 people working for you, you probably make more than that if they're effective.
So with that, we should point out though, if you want to put on 20 staff, you don't pay anything extra in fees or anything. You can put as many staff as you want, which is, maybe you want to outline that, Jim. That's an important point.
So if you've got, if you've got a staff member, if they're working full time, you would expect them to be turning over something like, say $3,000 a week, so 150 grand a year. That's the kind of level of earnings that a typical person will make.
How many staff?
Now, if you had one staff member, they should be able to bring you to do a turnover of something like $150,000 a year. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like just based on normal hourly rates. This is fairly typical of most franchisees. Average franchisee makes about that money. So if you've got a staff member working $150,000 a year, so if you've got 4 people working full time and they're all productive, $600,000 a year is not difficult. If you have 10,
well, very good.
Yeah, but if you listen to what Dan told you this morning about that, that's kind of the way he did it. He only had 6 staff, and he was turning over close to $1 million a year at his peak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also I have sent an email to you, as you told me, and requested for, I don't know. Your advice. I need your advice.
Okay.
I requested your advice in email.
Did he respond to you?
Sorry?
Has Jim responded to your email yet?
No, I have done it.
Oh, you've already
today.
asked. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I would say in your division is a really good lady called Frida. Frida's got around 20 staff. I've interviewed Frida before. She's up in Craigie.
20 staff.
She's got 20 staff. But there's a franchisee in cleaning. I won't say his name, but he used to be big with Jarny King, and he had 75 staff, and he's in gyms now. So you've got a lot of good people who are franchisees who will talk to you.
We can find you the best people who want to do. You want to achieve something. You want to achieve 600,000 turnover. We'll show you a stack of people, and I'll tell you what. We'll confidently say that these people will be very eager and willing to help you out and to mentor you and to guide you. That is a very widespread feeling. We've never had anybody like those people this morning. We had somebody, this franchisee is doing very poorly. We approached 2 franchisees that we know.
Not poorly, he just needed a bit of help with his business. It was Matt and Gerald who wanted to help.
Yeah, that's right. He's just had problems with customer service because of the way he's laying things out. And we got to 2 franchisees. We've asked, and they both said really happy to help. You'll find the same thing. If you want to grow, we actually, a couple of years back, we had a seminar here with some of our top people, including Dan and others, talking about how to build these multiple businesses. And it was all free to everybody who had a rating of 4.8 and above, which I think was about all except for one of them.
It's all on YouTube, It's all on the internet.
It's all on YouTube, So if you want to build a major business, then we've got the best resources in the world. We've got lots of leads and we've got lots of mentors. We can show you how it's done for your division.
Thank you.
There you go. And hopefully Jim responds to you. Come on.
Hey Jim, Kurt from Windows and Pressure Cleaning. At what point when you started back in the day mowing did this become a thought, and then at what point did it become a reality?
Well, it was kind of gradual because when I started mowing lawns, it was just something to do until something better came along. And even when I launched the franchise, I wasn't really thinking it was going to be anything great. Somebody asked me when I first started how many franchisees I might have, and I said maybe if it works well, 100. I just didn't have any idea. I was surprised. It took a few years to actually start to think, wow, this is something good. But even 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have predicted we'd do this well. Yeah. I just keep on trying to, it's not really, I've never had huge goals, like I want to have X thousand franchisees. It's good to reach the milestones, but you just think, okay, how can I get complaints down? How can I improve the system? How can I respond better? How can I improve the IT? Just constantly looking at what you do every day. And it's surprising what happens when you do little things. Success in business is not about grand ideas. It's not about I'm pushing a wall. What if I franchise and suddenly I'm a millionaire? It doesn't work that way. It's thousands of little things, including how to do the best job of my lawn mowing, how to save a step doing grass, how to do a great brush cutting job, how to navigate, how to take people on, how to interview people, just gradually learning bit by bit every day of my life, asking myself the question, how can we do this better? And it's just amazing. The little things add up, and suddenly you end up with something that's so way far beyond anything you could have imagined. And the same thing could happen to you. And it's not so much a matter of whether you're brilliant or whether you've got a lot of money. In fact, you don't need money, that's for sure. It's a case of, have you got the attitude that says, I'm going to keep on learning and growing and coming to meetings and talking to my franchisor and finding mentors and reading up and whatever you need to do. And you keep on learning, and it's just astonishing how much you can achieve.
Good question.
Good question.
Come on, guys, come up and ask a question as well. We've got a heap here, so if you're going, when's you going to get to mine? Take it out of my hand and come up there. I do have another one as well here, real quickly, Jim. Is Elton from here, from Mowing? Elton? Yep. Do you remember?
What does retirement look like for you, Jim?
Come and ask.
What does retirement look like for you, Jim?
We're going to have a ceremony. It's going to be very moving and peaceful, probably in a church, and I'll be in a box on the floor. How many kids you got, Elton?
Got the same as you, Jim. 10.
10. I've had dinner with this guy, even his wife. 10 children. What a champion. Come on, give him a round of applause. And we're just talking about why we love kids and how much fun they are. Isn't that right? Very memorable.
Want to get busy quick.
Got a good beard too, this guy.
Does have a good beard. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim as well. The next one I've got here, I'm going to read out is Mark. Is Mark from Jim's Cleaning here? No, I'll read it out for him. It says, what's the most craziest idea of a service you want to add in our divisional services? What's the most craziest one? I think Jim's Beauty would have been one people would have said as well, and that's gone live and gone all right. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of fun ideas. We had a competition one year at national conference as to the best new division, and the winner was Jim's Hitmen. They had these white jumpers with a little black gun on them. So
yeah, debt collection is a cross-divisional
service. Debt collection is easy. Yeah. You pay or you pay.
There we go. So Jim's using with the one as well. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up as well and ask him here. Another one here, where we have here is this. All right, what's the plan for the 35th anniversary? That was from Ahmed Omar in Jim's Fencing. 35 years soon for Jim's group.
When would that be? That'd be this year, wouldn't it?
Yeah, which is cool.
Probably this year in June. About June 1989 we started. Nothing in particular. We'll
have to think of something. I don't know. We'll have to organise something. If you've got any ideas, let us know in the comments.
50 years we'll have a big celebration.
Yeah, if you still, hopefully you're still going pretty well.
We do celebrate the... What do you mean if I'm still going?
I'm just joking with you.
I hope you know. Just let me know. We had a game of squash this morning. Yeah. Who won?
You won due to injury.
He blames you. He says he pulled a muscle because, come on.
Normally
what an excuse.
Normally the other way
Mind you, normally the other way around, but still, today I
did the groin today, so you got me covered. But racquetball, maybe you want to tell about your racquetball passion. That's something people want to know about.
Racquetball is great fun. We play racquetball most days, don't we?
We do.
It's good.
He's very good, Jim. Jim's, even though he's 71, he's still very mobile. Quite surprising.
I think the only reason you're winning is because you're getting a bit less unfit.
That's true. I'm losing a lot of the fat, so that helps me a bit playing you actually. Cool. We've got a couple more questions here, Jim. We've got a heap actually, so please come up to the microphone, guys. I'm not going to get to your question as always as well. Here we go. This is a good question from Chirag Patel. Why don't other companies replicate the Jim's franchise system? Which I think is a good question.
It's a very good question, actually. Yeah. It's not difficult in a sense, because if somebody wants to learn what we do, we say, come along, do our franchisee training, do our franchisor training, we'll show you our manuals, you can read through everything we've done, which is thousands and thousands of hours of information. But it's very difficult to build the culture. You've got to have people who believe in it, which has started with me eventually, but it's got thousands of people who believe in that culture. And that's the hardest thing to replicate. Because what people tend to do is they take shortcuts. They say, well, I'll take this and this and this, but I won't let this and this and this. And it's the things they leave out are like some of the obsessiveness that I have about customer service and service to franchisees. It's just an emotional driver. And they don't see that. They just don't see what's really behind the success. We have people try to do similar things and they cannot succeed. In fact, we've had 2 people who've come through training and tried to launch franchise systems, and I know at least one case put a franchisee on, completely failed. It's quite difficult to do. It's culture, it's great people, it's understandings. There's a different spirit about Jim, and the way you could best experience it, when you go to meetings, and you're all going to start going to meetings very shortly, start talking to other franchisees and you'll find them very eager to help. That is a cultural part of what we do. We help each other. So franchisees who are successful really want to mentor and help others to do the same thing. You get somebody with a problem. We have unpaid mentors who just volunteer. You can find a list through
Jim's Online. Yep.
Jim's Online. People who volunteered their time to help other franchisees. It's that culture that's very difficult. And if it doesn't come from the top, if the person at the top is greedy and putting money first, it becomes very obvious and people don't believe in it.
It's a very good question, because we went to the franchise expos and just to see the difference in our system, it's very unique compared to other models and stuff
Nobody
like that.
does anything the way that we do it. This whole business about giving franchisees empowerment, people told me they think you're crazy to do it. This is just no way anybody does this kind of stuff. But if you look at it from the point of view of basic belief systems, if you look at the front of my book, you'll see a little 3 thing, which is there. Our first priority is the welfare of franchisees. We are also passionate about customer service. We sign only franchisees and franchisors we are convinced will succeed. There's nothing about money in that. Now, you've got to watch the money. You've got to watch the revenue. But you can't make it the major thing. If you put the money into that, somewhere into that most important things, then you lose what's special. And in the end, you don't succeed. It's a good question. Very
Really
good question.
Come up, go for it.
Hi Jim, my name's Matthew Walker. I'm from Scratch and Dent Division. Within the last year or so, what would be something that you have regretted? As a leader.
We put some terrible mistakes in terms of who we'd had picked to run IT. That was awful. That cost us millions.
Sorry if they're watching, but that's all right, yeah.
I won't say, not mentioning any names, but we've made some very, very, very bad staffing mistakes. I would change quite a few things about staff if I knew. Most of my staff, and in fact all my current staff, are fantastic, but we've made some very bad mistakes before that. That's probably the biggest thing.
Thank you very much.
Good question. Scratch and Dent as well, new mobile, great division.
Doing very well.
Yep, don't go to a panel shop anymore, get the Scratch and Dent people to come in as well. Cool. Got a heap more on the list, guys, but feel free just to jump up like Matt did as well and ask us a good question.
But somebody else, that's good.
Yeah, just come up. Don't need to put the hand up, just come up.
So I have a question from ChatGPT.
Okay.
If Jim's franchise had a theme song, what would it be and why?
That's a very good question. Use ChatGPT to ask us.
Jimbo, Jimbo, off to work we go.
You're not getting me singing it, but yes, that's right. That's exactly what
That's our theme song.
That's a very good question. Very good question. I've never had that one before. ChatGPT to ask a question on Ask Jim. Very good man.
Very clever.
They're very clever. Very, very smart. That's a really good one as well. Come up, go for it.
Hey Jim, how are you?
Good.
So my name is Pars and I'm 18. So me and my brother have recently established a social media marketing agency. And I wanted to know what are some key traits that an owner or a leader of a company should have to build a successful business long term?
Well, a long-term attitude is probably the first thing. You've got to think of what's in the interests of your stakeholders and the company in the long term, and not make short-term decisions. But just be constantly, as I said before, be constantly looking at how I can change, what I can do better. Never, ever, ever put yourself up too much. Recognize that you can make mistakes. And if you read my book, actually, you'll see that a lot of, talking about all the errors that I've made and all the weaknesses and stuff, you've got to be very self-aware. Otherwise, if you get to the stage where you think I know everything and I'm fantastic, you stop listening. And if you stop listening, you stop learning, and you stop changing, and you stop growing. The biggest difference between, and it doesn't matter the size of your company, whether you're talking about a company like mine, or whether it's something like Amazon, which is huge, or whether it's something like the business that you have. It's the same attitude, looking at it all the time, saying, how can I improve? I'm never, ever, ever good enough. And if you ask me for one ultimate goal that I would have for Jim's Group, is that no franchisee would ever fail, ever. Now, I know it's not going to happen, but I'll never be satisfied as long as even one franchisee fails. But if you put it in one goal, and if you do that, surprisingly enough, other things will happen right. The money will come, the growth will come, but you've got to be focused on the essentials.
Thank you so much. Good question. Good luck with it. Absolutely. Come up, guys, and ask a question as well. Got one online real quickly, Jim, because we're trying to keep them engaged as well. Alice has gone, Jim, after your thoughts on customers that fail to pay invoices, which is relevant to everyone here, after completing works, thoughts on collections and how safe to guard against the handful that want to take us for a ride. Get Jim's hitman maybe, that could be the answer when that comes out. But
yeah, people who don't pay. Look, some people will not pay you. It's as simple as that. You can hassle them, you ring them, you do various things. We're actually setting up Jim's Jobs, our program. Eventually, within a year or two, it'll have a harassment of client system. We're also trying to set things up to Jim's Legal to have automated systems to. A lot of it's in IT. One of the things we do is if a customer doesn't pay, we actually what we call red flag them, which means we don't use them again. And we can also potentially use that as a threat to say, listen, if you don't pay, you're going to have a bad credit rating, certainly with us, which is true. So we hassle them, ring them up, demand the money, turn up if you need to. If the client complains about you, we will wipe out the complaint. All you got to do is chasing money. I don't care how obnoxious they find you. It's one thing, we don't care. They're garbage people anyway who don't pay. But seriously, you're talking about less than 1%. It's not a lot of people are like that, but there are a few really bad eggs around.
Yeah, and the red flag thing is a good thing to point out, that franchisees can make us aware, and that helps protect. That's a really
good
thing.
If a franchisee is not only a bad payer, if they're abusive, if they're racist, if they're just really difficult to deal with, we also red flagged them. There's quite a few clients red flagged. One of the things we plan to do over the next year or two is set up a way of monitoring clients, getting feedback on clients. So like in Uber, you can actually say this client is difficult to deal with. And the clients that are the best clients, the ones that accept your quotes and are good to deal with and good payers and stuff, will actually give them a higher rating. And the top franchises could even choose just to do the best clients. So we'll have hopefully a virtuous
We're working on a customer app at the moment, so it's not too. We've got the UX UI starting, so there'll be a Jim's customer app which people can download, and that'll be something that we build in after the first version. So
yes,
yeah, it's happening. Cool, really good question as well, guys. If you got a question, please feel free to come up to the mic as well. We've got some time. We've got a couple more online real quickly. I want to get to. Luke's an existing franchisee. This is a really good question actually. What are your thoughts on having Jim's Group employ casuals that can be shared around different franchisees? I'm just trying to find a solution to the biggest expansion problem, finding staff that are reliable enough to start booking bigger and more jobs, which is a common problem.
Yeah. Us employing people, no, we wouldn't do it. It'd be too difficult to organise. And much better for people to help us to help franchisees to do it themselves. If you employ somebody, you've got to actually monitor them. And if we employed people at all, it'd probably be to set up our own. We are looking at setting up our own fencing franchise, for example, and then we'll employ people to do that, because that's one division where there's a huge surplus of work.
There's some exciting tech. There's a company called Casu, who our Jim's Mowing guys use up in Brisbane. So it's a startup, and they get a lot of kids from like uni, maybe doing uni or whatever, and they sign up to the app, and then the app manages the whole process, and that's for casuals come on and off, and that's been really good for some franchisees in mowing. So it's called Casu.
We should make that more readily available.
Well, I wanted to see how they went with the feedback. I want to push an app out to people that didn't work, but apparently the feedback's been good from the mowing guys. So.
We often do very well with groups like, say, autistic people. who might be very difficult to employ in normal cities, but they actually can be very, very good workers.
Yeah, we have a lot of franchisees within neurodivergent staff and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there's opportunities in employing people who are not employable in the normal sense of the word, but given the way we operate with the very personal, small-scale businesses, it's actually possible.
Yeah, we have a lot of franchisees who do it, and it's a really good, NDIS, and they get involved with an organisation. It's a really good thing as well. And they give a lot of good opportunity it happens a lot. We don't hear about it, obviously they don't tell us all the time, but I know a lot of guys in pool care, cleaning, mowing, that sort of thing do it.
A lot of them do it too. It's partly a social welfare thing too. It's not just because of financial reasons. They also really like to help people.
Absolutely, for sure. If you've got a question, guys, feel free to come up and ask a question as well.
Somebody here?
Yep. Please come up and ask it. Got a couple more online as well from existing franchisees.
Hi, Jim. We're back again. I'm Matt from Scratch and Dent. Oh my God, I've completely gone blank.
It's all right. While you think about it, I've got one online I can read out to if you want to think about it.
I've got it on my phone.
You got it on your phone?
Sorry. Can you name a person who has tremendously impacted you as a leader? Maybe someone who has been a mentor to you. Why and how did this person impact your life? How has this person impacted your life?
As I said before, the people I learn from tend to be my own people. I've learned a lot from my franchisees and franchisors.
Yep.
Great deal. The kind of stuff that Carl talked about this morning is something that I never did. And he was vastly better at running a lawn mowing business, a large one, than I ever was. So I learned a lot from people. Apart from that, mainly books. I really admire people like James Dyson, for example. You know, the Dyson is a fantastic story. There's a book called Inventor, which is great. Also people like Elon Musk too, even though the guy's a complete flake in a lot of ways. If you look at what he's done in terms of engineering, particularly in relation to SpaceX, it's an extraordinary story.
It's amazing.
So I get my mentors from all over the world and within my own people. But I don't have an individual personal mentor, put it that way.
Thank you very much.
Well, we do have a book list on jimpenman.com.au, all your favourite books we have there as a list, so if you want to see what Jim reads and recommends, they're all on there as well. So jimpenman.com.au.
A lot of great business books around. I really recommend that. You can learn from the best in the world.
Absolutely. We've got another question here as well from Naveen. If you want to come up, though, guys, please feel free. Naveen from Mobile Mechanics is asked, how can I overcome my lack of communication skills? Which is a good question. A lot of people might be shy and not used to dealing with sort of stuff, so how can he can overcome that?
Okay, let me put it to you this way. I am a fairly extreme introvert. I am notoriously clumsy with people. I offend people without meaning to. My wife says I've got borderline Asperger's, okay? That gives you some idea. I find it very difficult to cope with crowds. I don't make small talk easily. I am a very poor natural communicator. What makes you better at communicating is practice. You just got to do the things you're scared of and you keep on doing them until you get better. It's as simple as that. The kind of stuff you've seen me do the last couple of days, you know when I come around and see a lot of people at lunchtime? And I try and have some sort of personal contact with every franchisee. I do that because it's important, because I want people to feel a connection, so if you have a need, you can contact me. But it's not natural behaviour to me at all. I am very, very introverted by nature. I'll spend 2 days at my farm seeing nobody and quite happy with that. So, practice.
You're doing a lot better, since 2019 to now, obviously doing a lot more media, when you do Sunrise.
Well, you've seen the changes yourself, haven't you?
I have. You noticed a lot. If you go back to watch the 2019 first one I've asked Jim when we sat in front of the webcam, you can see a massive difference from then till now, which has been fantastic to see.
It's amazing how much better you get when you practice. But the important thing is to have a growth mentality. People often pigeonhole it. Oh, I'm like this. I've got poor communication skills, or I'm not naturally hardworking, or I'm not good at business, or whatever the story. They make a story for themselves. If you treat yourself like that, it's self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you look at it and you say, okay, I can improve, I can do better, and you have that growth mentality, and then you just keep on learning and keep on improving, and it's really quite surprising how much you can achieve.
It's been great for the business. So Today Show almost every 3 months you're on, or been at Sunrise or other
and that is learned behaviour. Yeah. That is not something that I was naturally good at. I just kept on doing it and practicing until you get better. And even when we do things like this too, I'll look back about what I did and said, how could I have responded to that better? Or that wasn't such a good answer, or I didn't react that way. You're always endlessly self-critical, always wanting to improve.
Absolutely. If you've got a question, guys, feel free to come up. We've got a lot of time. Well, not a lot of time, we've got a bit of time left, guys, so feel free to come up if you've got a question for Jim. And this gentleman with the fantastic beard is coming up. On brand.
That's a real Jim's beard.
That's a real proper Jim's beard. It's a 10 out of 10.
Talking about beards, I have a long one, as you see. Would you recommend me to chop it off, shorten it, or keep it as is?
No, keep it as it is. That's fantastic. You look like the grey beard warrior. Let me tell you, clients will not mind. Clients will judge you. They will judge the work, your character. They won't worry about things like beard. I do recommend that don't have a lot of tattoos and rings through your nose and that kind of stuff too. If you were thinking of going that way, I'd suggest stay away.
Definitely not. Too much pain.
I think clients are very happy with the way you look. I wouldn't worry about it at all. You know what's most important though? Your wife. Keep her happy. Rest don't matter.
Thank you.
Good question. We've got a lot of guys with sleeves and stuff though, so it doesn't matter too much. If you've got a question, guys? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Absolutely. If you've got a question, guys, feel free to come up. I've got a heap here still, so if I didn't get to it, I apologise. We do have a lot here. Real quickly, though, there's one online which I think is great for everyone to hear. Scott Bradley's an existing franchisee. He's gone, in my division, Jim. There he goes, in my division, who is responsible for advertising in each division and how is it monitored to ensure there is reward for expenditure?
Okay, basically, advertising is responsibility of franchisors. It has to be because the franchisors are the ones that are responsible for paying pay-for-work guarantee and who are most involved. What often happens is that you run broader campaigns, like over a city or even over a nation, and you put the money in different areas. We watch it very carefully. All I can say is
we do.
Actually, Joel's largely in charge of the marketing department, but we actually watch it. We actually look to see not so much. First of all, if I get a message from a franchisee after 1 month, one of the things I'll ask is how they're doing. Most franchisees are doing okay, but sometimes they're not. As soon as I get somebody who's not doing so well, I'm bang on to Joel or whoever it is involved and say, okay, this is the problem here, need more leads, well, how can we do it, how can we increase it, how can we improve it? But the other thing which is just as important is that you've got to look to where we've got too much work, because that's actually damaging. If you're advertising when you're already overloaded with work, which is very common with us, you have to pull back and reduce the advertising because clients get frustrated because they can't get through.
And if the second part is going to how is it monitored to ensure there's reward for expenditure, which should just be leads. If there's not enough leads in the area, you need to tell your friends.
You look at leads per dollar. We do a lot of different things. We use Google AdWords, of course. SEO is very cost effective and we're very good at that. We use Google My Business listings for each franchisee. We also use other social media like Facebook, those kinds of things too. So we have a very wide range of things and we just monitor. You're spending this much money, how many leads you're getting. And you try something, you put something else out, it doesn't produce a good response, you drop that, something else. But different systems will work in different areas. Country areas are quite different from cities, for example, so it's a constant monitoring process.
Absolutely. Come up, go for it.
What was your career path before mowing lawns?
It was this, academic. Well, I mean, it was during. I did a PhD in history, which I started in 1971, my undergraduate years, and I finished basically in 1982. So 11 years of academic research. And lawn mowing was my part-time student job. I had no conception of being in business or making money. It wasn't part of my goal. I actually lived very cheaply in those days. I just wanted to be a researcher.
When did that change over to like your full-time?
Well, I basically, my academic career failed.
Yeah, okay.
But no possibility I was ever going to get a job because my ideas were too outrageously difficult. So I needed, at that stage, when I realised the academic path was closed to me, and one of the problems was I did my PhD in history, whereas most of the implications of this thing are in things like epigenetics and biology. So I needed to actually build enough revenue, enough money, so I could afford to start my own research institute. So that was the impetus.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
Good question. There we go. Got one real quickly online, Jim, which I think is really relevant actually with what's going on with the fires. Ben Kernow's gone, how do the gym's team keep cash flow going during times of floods, fires, etc.? I've my own business near the fires in the Pyrenees Shire at the moment. I haven't worked for a week. Don't know when I'll be back. Any advice on managing a crisis?
Okay, there's various things. First of all, I would like to talk to this franchisee director to see what's going on. But there's various principles. First of all, if you're in a situation where your normal work dries up, what else can you do? So, for example, if you're a lawn mowing contractor and there's a drought, okay, in some senses you've actually lost your business because all the lawns are going to die. What can you do? You can do gardening. You can do irrigation systems. You can do all kinds of different things. You can remove rubbish. You can clear gutters because they're a fire hazard. There's many things you can do. In gyms, a particular advantage is you can do cross-divisional services. So if a franchisee approaches me and says, I'm lacking of work because of whatever environment, one of the things I will do is go to the computer and I'll print out a list of all the unserviced leads from all divisions in their service area over the past month or two. And I send it to them and I say, would you like to do any of these? For example, you can't clean, what about window cleaning? What about cleaning ovens? What about handyman work? What can you achieve? And usually they're able to do something else. So the strange thing about us, because we've got 40 plus divisions, there's always divisions that are overloaded. And these lists typically go to hundreds. If I look at the number of unserviced leads in any particular franchisee service area, there'd be typically hundreds going unserviced. Some of them are not possible, like dog wash, because you haven't got a dog wash trailer, but many of them will be. So there's all kinds of ways. You look for the extras, you look for the different words, and you look cross-divisionally at the same time.
Yeah, good question. If you've got a question, guys, feel free to come up. We've got time for a couple of more. One person is, David's gone, what do you do when you're not working? What do you like to do?
Well, gardening. I mean, out
on brand.
Planting nuts in the forest for growing trees and stuff. I really enjoy that. Mowing my lawn at the farm. I read a lot. I read...
audiobooks, yeah?
Audiobooks also, things like The Economist, Atlantic Monthly, The Australian. I read very widely and listen to audiobooks as well. Exercise, obviously. Play racquetball.
Racquetball, yeah. Run
on the treadmill. And I have to say, I probably waste far too much time playing computer games. But also sociable. I have a moderately active social life through my church and to people I know, which I really appreciate, and see my kids. My grandson, you know, I just...
Writing books as well? You're writing another book?
I'm writing books, yes. I'm just rewriting this book, actually. I'm just about 3/4 of the way through it. A lot of changes and a lot of new research. So that's also part of my... But, I mean, you asked when I'm not working. But
True.
That's what you define as working, though. It's difficult to know what's working sometimes because, for example, if I'm gardening, is that working? It's not working on my business, but at the same time I'm listening to a talking book, which is helping me to run a better business. Or if I come down to the office in the evening, we often chat, you know, around about 5:30 when the phones have died down, and we talk about business. We also talk about other things too, don't we?
We do.
So it's kind of, sometimes work and non-work, it's very hard to define what you're actually doing. But I think the biggest thing to determine is not so much work versus not working, it's worthwhile versus not worthwhile. See, picking up my son from school and chatting to him about this and that, that's worth doing. Doing something about business that has no real value, that's not worth doing. So you focus on what's important, what's valuable. And sociability is important too. Friends are important. Family is important.
We've got one here from Suraj real quickly I want to get to from Jim's Cleaning. He's gone, what is the average time frame for return on investment for the franchise? What's based on your common knowledge of the average?
Well, if you're spending, say, $30,000 in the business that turns over, let's say, $3,000 a week, it's about 10 weeks. It's pretty good. Mind you don't actually make that much money in the beginning, so it's probably a bit misleading, but very quick, honestly speaking. We talk to people who want to lend money because finance is often a problem, and we say, listen, for the kind of cost of a business, the return on investment is so high, it's many multiples of times per annum. Unlike a normal business where you might rate at 3 years profits. With us, it's just, that's why the service industry is so good, isn't it? I mean, really. We've had people who've come who've been in things like the Gloria Jean's cafes and stuff too. They pay a fortune and they're working flat out, long hours for wages. You just can't comprehend how bad some of those businesses are. Service businesses is fantastic.
I think the model as well, the flat fee model is a really big thing that people...
Yeah. Well, it actually is good for people who are ambitious and you don't feel you're paying extra. It's a bit like people I was talking to you last night, they're complaining about the government, about the marginal tax rate. When you make a certain amount of money, half it goes to the government. That's very much disincentive. But if you have a system in business where you only pay a certain amount of fees and everything else goes to you, that's a lot better incentive, isn't it? And also I have to say too, even being completely honest, which I totally believe in, there are so many ways of reducing tax when you're in business for yourself. like, for example, your car costs and your clothing and your electricity at home or part of it, all kinds of costs, and normally you don't get a deduction for it, deducted if you've got your own business. So, and then you can split your income with your partner if you wish to. There's so many benefits. I don't know how I'm getting to that one, but...
Well, we do have Jim's tags at the front we can ask. But guys, if you've got one more question, we've got time for one more. If not, one more, cool.
Hi, Jim. You mentioned you have a very great team. You know, your staffs are very good. And so we used to have a business, but our staff turnover is we have a food business, and then the staff turnover is very high. And so how do you keep staff and good people around, and how to keep them?
We actually take it's a very good question, actually. I love that one too. You've got to take a really strong interest genuinely in your staff. We take great pride at gyms in longevity. We actually have very low turnover amongst our staff. But one of the things is we work very hard at it. For example, we tend to pay over the minimum. I don't think anybody at gyms is on minimum wage at any length of time. We ask what they want. We listen to them. You know, if you want to change someone's office, what do you think about it? How do you feel about it? So you asking a person's opinion. I wander around most departments every day, just chatting with staff, trying to find anything we can do for them. We do things like we have a staff lunch, which is organised by the departments, and people come in and one of the departments, they order the lunch, but they also put an entertainment on. It's like a mixing activity. The grounds that we have here, the sporting complex we put on, which is mainly for the staff's benefit. We're going to have a heated pool. Jim's gym, racquetball court, all for staff use. And then you look to people, how they can improve, where they can grow. Like, as an example, Joel started off on a very minimum wage job, doing even short term. He's now one of my top managers. And, you know, I have to say, paid many times what he was paid when he first came here, 10
All deserved, Jim, all deserved.
Yeah, but no, it's grossly overpaid. But anyway, the point of it is you look to what people have got to offer and you try and give them a way forward and try and do something worthwhile with their life. It's what I was saying before about if you put the money first, it's a bad thing. You've got to put your stakeholders first, and that includes your staff. And if you talk to Dan about what he does, I don't know if he mentioned this morning, but he actually put a lot of effort into bringing up his staff, and he'd play games with them and, you know, joke with them and so forth, and, you know, buy them lunch and those kind of things too. Just don't take your staff for granted. They are so important.
In your division, talk to Frida. She's in Jim's clinic. She's got 19 staff, 20 staff, and there's a guy called Gerald in Mowing. He's got a really good, we did a really good interview with Gerald, and he's got a really good system that he uses to keep staff, and yeah, a lot of good stuff as well. Do you want to jump up and ask a question? You had something you want to ask? We'll leave you, make yours the last one before we get into the prizes.
Okay, yeah, so hi, I'm Leanne in Adelaide for laundry. In life, a lot of people face fears, which can obviously hinder them from moving forward. Have you faced a fear, or name a fear, and how would you try to accelerate getting overcoming it?
Well, fear does arise at times. I find the worst things when you run out of money and you can't pay your bills. That's really, and I've been through some very hairy situations in my life. Look, if you're faced with a fear, you just simply look at it and say, okay, what can I do? Just set a course of actions. What's the next step? What do? I need to do this to cope with it. And I also find prayer is very helpful too. As a practicing Christian, I just call on God to give me strength, to give me wisdom as to what to do, and to give me calmness. That is a very great help. And to be with my fellow believers too, and we pray for each other. Like we had a meeting last night, which some of you may have seen. We had a group together, with just back in here. And we pray for each other. If you've got difficulties, we pray through them. And you give each other moral support and advice and so forth. So yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. There's Luke online as well. Email me, Luke, and I'll give you those details off the app. He's asking. Luke, email me online. Cool, Jim. 3 questions. So what we're going to do is anyone who asks the question, you'll get a prize. But what we do is Jim picks his favourite 3, and we give them first dibs on what to get as well. If you've got a prize, if you've got to ask the question, come see me at the end as well. So Jim, who was your first person?
Well, there were so many actually that I really liked. I liked the one about the cold. That was great. Who said that?
Cold. Okay.
Yes.
No worries. Pick anything you first pick up there. Just can't take the laptop.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
You want the beer? Cool.
The beer.
All right. Next one, Jim.
I actually thought your question about staff was very good too, but you only get one prize. You have two, but I love about listing. Who talked about listing the business? That was a really good question.
Come up
it's
and grab
important
something. That's a
about-
really good question. We talk about it all the time. Grab what you like.
The
The beer.
Yeah, beer again.
Oh, which
All
is
right.
good.
And the question about epigenetics. Who said that?
Yes, gentleman in the middle
Yes.
there. Yep, cool. Now,
not many people even know what epigenetics is, so I was very impressed that you actually.
lot of research.
Who's taking me money, Jim?
He's watched a bit of stuff, I presume. Grab what you like. Take it if you like. Yeah, take a hat for sure, absolutely. Yep. Which one do you want? The mowing one? For sure. Cool. If you you ask the question to me, guys, please come see me at the end. You'll get something from here. There's wines, there's beers. Somebody didn't take Monopoly, so that's available as well. So be first ones first. Come up here as well. We do this every 3 weeks, as you heard. Franchisees jump in and say things as well, and all that sort of stuff. We answer any question as well. Photos now is a great time to get it because there's a nice light there. If we didn't ask you a question, come and ask Jim as well. Now's a great time to ask you. Hang around, photos, all that sort of stuff. Give me your phone as well, I'll take it for you as well. But thank you very much for your attention and good luck for the rest of your training program. Cool.
And you've had a good business. This is different from other things.